What if the worst habit in your life isn't yours? Every empire that ever crumbled, every dynasty that bled itself dry on the altar of its own arrogance, did not fall to invasion or plague or betrayal. No, they fell to a single, invisible habit, a ritual repeated so often it became sacred, a reflex so automatic it outlived reason itself. Rome didn't burn because of Nero's fiddle. It burned because its citizens had trained themselves over centuries to look away. Bolsheviks didn't topple the Tsar with bullets alone. They toppled him with a population that had learned, generation after generation, to kneel. And you wake up, reach for the phone, and call it checking the time. You light another cigarette and call it just one more. You refresh the feed and swear tomorrow will be different. But tomorrow never comes, because 97% of your life is not lived. It is executed by a ghost in the machine of your mind that you never agreed to install. Tonight, we're going to exhume that ghost. We're going to name it, and then we're going to kill it. The Japanese have a word for the blade that can do this. They call it Kaizen. You've heard it before, whispered in boardrooms, printed on motivational posters, reduced to a productivity hack for people who want to journal their way to abs. But Kaizen was never about getting more done. It was about becoming someone else, one microscopic mutation at a time. It was born in the ashes of a nation that had bet everything on one catastrophic habit: never stop, never question, never change, and lost. Out of that defeat, a secret was forged, a principle so dangerous that factories tried to bury it, so subversive that algorithms now use it against you, so precise that it can sever a lifelong addiction with a cut too small to feel, until it's too late for the habit to scream. Tonight, you'll learn how Japan accidentally discovered the atomic key to breaking any chain your mind has forged. You'll see why they hid it, and you'll walk away with the exact sequence to wield it before the world Kaizens you into someone you'll never recognize. But first, look down at your hands. Really look. One of them is already reaching, for the phone, for the lighter, for the lie that says, "I'll start tomorrow." That reach, it isn't yours, it's the habit. And it's been rehearsing that motion since before you had a name. Stay with me, because in the next 20 minutes, we're going to watch that hand stop. If you're tired of waking up as a stranger in your own life, hit subscribe now and ring that bell. The rebellion starts the moment you decide to watch until the end. Edo 1650. The air smells of cedar smoke and wet stone. A lone samurai kneels in a courtyard lit only by paper lanterns. His name is Yamamoto Tsunetomo. History remembers him as the author of Hagakure, the Bible of Bushido, the voice that declared, "The way of the samurai is death." But tonight, we're not reading the book. We're reading the margin, the page he never meant for anyone to see. In a private journal sealed after his death, Tsunetomo confesses something no warrior was ever supposed to admit. He writes, "I fear not the blade of my enemy. I fear the day my hand forgets how to draw." 300 years of muscle memory had turned every motion into scripture. The way he tied his obi, the angle of his bow, the exact number of breaths before a strike. Change one variable, just one, and the entire cathedral of identity collapsed. So he froze himself in ritual. He turned life into liturgy. And in doing so, he became the first documented prisoner of what we now call habit inertia. Fast forward 3 centuries. 1948. The war is over. Japan is a skeleton in rags. Toyota's assembly lines are a joke to American consultants who tour the plant with clipboards and pity. Cars roll out with misaligned doors, leaking oil, destined for scrap. Taiichi Ono watches from the catwalk. He is not an executive. He is not even an engineer by degree. He is a man who once read Hagakure and understood the terror in Tsunetomo's margin. Ono sees workers repeating the same flawed motion, hour after hour, because that is what they were taught on day one. No one dares stop the line. To stop is to admit failure. To admit failure is to invite shame. Shame is death. So Ono does something unthinkable. He installs a red cord above every station. Any worker at any time can pull it. The entire line halts. Production dies and the flaw is named aloud. The first man to pull the cord is fired on the spot. Word spreads like frostbite. The second man waits 3 weeks. Then, trembling, he yanks the cord because a bolt is stripped. The line stops. Silence. Ono walks over, kneels, inspects the bolt. He does not scold, he asks, "How would you fix this tomorrow?" The worker suggests a quarter turn, less torque. Ono nods. The line restarts. The next day, every station adopts the quarter turn. Defects drop 18% in a week. Ono has just inverted the samurai's curse. Where Tsunetomo froze perfection into paralysis, Ono weaponized imperfection into evolution. He called it Kaizen, change for the better, but the name is a mask. The principle is surgical, it says. Do not fight the habit, outgrow it. Within a decade, Toyota dominates the world. The red cord becomes legend. But something else happens in the shadows. Workers begin pulling the cord on themselves. One smoker leaves half a cigarette in the ashtray. One overeater skips one bite. Productivity soars. Absenteeism collapses. Management panics. A memo circulates, never publicized, stamped internal. Kaizen applies to processes, not people. Personal application is disruptive to hierarchy. The red cord is quietly short. Workers are told, improve the machine, leave the man alone. The principle that saved a nation is neutered in the cradle, but the seed has already escaped. And it is growing in the dark, waiting for someone willing to pull it on their own life. A lab in Palo Alto. The lights are surgical white. A volunteer lies inside an fMRI scanner, skull dotted with electrodes like a crown of thorns. On the monitor, a red pulse blooms in the basal ganglia every time the researcher flashes a cue. The smell of coffee, the chime of a phone, the flicker of a slot machine wheel. Cue. Craving, response, reward. 40% of everything you do today is not a choice. It is this loop, firing faster than thought, older than language. Duke University tracked 5,000 adults for a year. The verdict: your brain outsources nearly half its daily operations to a subroutine it wrote in childhood and never bothered to audit. Addiction is not moral failure. It is ruthless efficiency. The smoker does not decide to light up at 3:12 p.m. The basal ganglia has already hijacked the motor cortex. The hand moves before the prefrontal cortex, the seat of you, even knows a meeting has been called. Evolution rewards conservation of energy. Habits are the ultimate savings account. They let you navigate a world of 8 billion stimuli without melting down. The price: you become a puppet with the strings on the inside. Now watch what happens when the loop is starved. Tell a heroin addict to just say no. The amygdala floods the system with panic. Heart rate spikes, sweat, tremors. The brain screams, this is death. Because to the loop, change equals extinction. Kaizen does not declare war on the loop. It pickpockets it. Instead of quitting coffee cold, drink 1 ounce less today. Not tomorrow, today. The cue, morning alarm, and reward warmth, alertness stay intact. Only the response shrinks. The loop registers no alarm, no panic, just a 2% deficit it can't be bothered to notice. Repeat tomorrow, and the next day. After 30 days, the loop has quietly rewritten itself around a new volume. The old craving is now a ghost with no address. Neuroscientist Anne Graybiel at MIT ran the experiment on rats, trained them to run a T-maze for chocolate. Habit forms in 10 days. Then shrink the chocolate by 1 pellet. The rats run anyway, shrink again, they still run. After 3 weeks, the pellet is gone. The rats keep running for months because the action has become the reward. Humans are no different. The chains are not iron, they are elastic. Stretch them 1 millimeter a day and they never snap back. But here is the deeper cut. The habit is not the enemy. The enemy is the story you tell about the habit. I can't quit. I'm wired this way. I'll start Monday. Kaizen murders the story with silence. It does not argue, it subtracts. 1 less scroll, 1 less bite, 1 less lie. And in the vacuum where the story dies, something else begins to speak. A voice you have not heard since you were 7 years old before the loops were installed. It says, try. 1950. Toyota's Georgetown plant, a concrete cathedral of noise and fluorescent glare. The red cord hangs like a guillotine above every station. Defects are down 42%. America is buying Japanese cars faster than Detroit can print excuses. But in the cafeteria, something is spreading faster than the cord. A maintenance tech named Sato has quit smoking. Not with patches, not with willpower. He simply smoked 1 cigarette less every shift. Week 1, 12. Week 4, 8. Week 12, 0. His lungs feel like spring air. His hands stop shaking. Word reaches the floor manager, a man named Aikta who still wears his Imperial Navy pin under his lapel. Aikta calls Sato in after third shift. The conversation is not recorded, but the next day Sato is transferred to inventory. No windows, no cord. His story is never told at morning huddle again. 3 months later, a dietitian in quality control drops 23 pounds. She logs every meal, subtracts 1 spoonful of rice each dinner. Colleagues notice. They ask. She shows them a pocket notebook, dates, grams, a single red line sloping downward like a heartbeat in recovery. Ike defines the notebook. She is reassigned to night audit. The notebook disappears. By 1955, a pattern has calcified. Any worker who applies Kaizen to flesh instead of steel is quietly exiled to the margins. A memo circulates, carbon paper, no letterhead, stamped for section chiefs only. Process improvement is company policy. Personal improvement is individual distraction. Discourage. The logic is ice cold. A workforce that self-optimizes becomes unpredictable. Unpredictable workers negotiate. They unionize. They ask why the cord stops at the factory gate but not at the bottle of sake that waits at home. Control requires friction. Kaizen removes friction. Therefore, Kaizen must be caged. Fast forward to 2025. The cage has evolved. It wears a smartwatch. Google, Mindful Minutes app pings you to breathe. Apple Health congratulates you for 10,000 steps. Both sell the data to insurers who raise your premium if your heart rate variability dips below baseline. The red cord is now a silicone band. Pull it too hard, skip a workout, eat a donut, and the algorithm nudges you back with a 1% guilt trip. You're 3% behind your weekly goal. Your friends average 12,400 steps. Try again tomorrow. Kaizen did not die in 1955. It was domesticated, turned from a scalpel into a leash. The same principle that let a smoker exhale freedom now trains you to inhale compliance. Toyota never patented the red cord. Silicon Valley patented the invisible one. And every time your phone buzzes with a micro goal, you are pulling it on yourself. But the memo was wrong about one thing. You are not the process. You are the factory. And the cord is still there, inside your skull, wrapped around the habit you hate most. All you have to do is reach. The protocol is 3 moves, no more. It fits on a matchbook. It has ended addictions that nicotine patches and 12-step programs only prayed over. It is called the 1% rule, but that is a lie of convenience. It is subtraction, not addition. It is amputation by millimeters. Move 1, name the cue, not the habit, the trigger. The clock that says 3:17 p.m. and your mouth waters for nicotine. The notification banner that flashes red and your thumb rises like a soldier. The empty apartment at 9:04 p.m. and the refrigerator door opens before you remember deciding. Write the cue in ink. 1 line, no adjectives. Stress email, right arrow snack. Bedtime, right arrow phone. The act of nomming is the first cut. The loop hates being seen. Move 2, shrink the response by 1%, not 1 cigarette less, 1 drag less. Hold the smoke in your mouth, count to 3, exhale. Tomorrow, count to 4. The donut eater does not skip the donut. He skips the first bite, leaves it on the plate like a hostage. Tomorrow, the second bite. The response shrinks so slowly the basal ganglia files it under rounding error. No alarm, no withdrawal, just a quiet erosion of territory. Move 3, celebrate like a barbarian. The moment the smaller response ends, flood the system with dopamine you did not earn from the old reward. A fist pump, a whispered yes. A single jumping jack in the office bathroom. The brain is stupid. It does not care where the chemical comes from. It only cares that it arrives on schedule. Starve the old reward, feed the new one, and the loop rewires itself to chase the fist pump instead of the nicotine. James Clear lost 30 pounds this way. He never dieted. He simply removed 1 bite from every meal. Breakfast, 1 less spoonful of oatmeal. Lunch, 1 less slice of cheese. Dinner, 1 less forkful of rice. The scale did not notice for 90 days. Then it noticed everything. Navy SEAL candidates in Coronado use the dark twin. Cold shower, day 1, 5 seconds. Day 2, 6. Day 100, 5 minutes under ice water while reciting their name, rank, and the exact second they decided to quit quitting. The habit is no longer pain avoidance. The habit is pain tolerance. The same loop inverted. You do not need a lab, you need a mirror and a lie you are tired of telling. Pick the habit that owns the largest province of your day. Apply the 3 moves before the sun sets. Do not announce it. Do not negotiate. Do not wait for Monday. The empire of habit falls the same way it rose, one unnoticed grain at a time, until one morning you wake up and the throne is empty. Your phone is a Kaizen machine. It just doesn't work for you. 2025. The average human attention span has collapsed to 8 seconds. A goldfish holds 9. That is not an insult. It is a spec sheet. TikTok's algorithm runs on the same 1% rule, but in reverse. Every clip you watch is engineered to be 1% more gripping than the last. The hook lands 0.3 seconds sooner. The punchline detonates 0.2 seconds faster. The scroll thumb never rests because the next dopamine hit is already preloaded, pre-queued, pre-approved by a model that knows your pupil dilation better than your mother knows your face. Netflix autoplays the next episode 15 seconds faster than it did in 2015. 15 seconds is nothing, until you multiply it by 10 seasons and realize you have surrendered 3 full days of your life to a progress bar that shrinks by 1% every year. Instagram stories vanish in 24 hours, but the FOMO they implant is permanent. The like button pulses red at the exact millisecond your serotonin dips. The cue is no longer external. The cue is you. Your boredom is the trigger. Your loneliness is the reward. Silicon Valley did not invent addiction. It industrialized it. The red cord is now a swipe. Pull it and the factory never stops. It just learns. The same principle that let a Toyota worker shave 1 second off a weld now shaves 1 second off your ability to sit with your own thoughts. The same subtraction that freed a smoker now subtracts your future 1 microdose at a time. You are not the user. You are the process. And the process is being improved, optimized, Kaizened into a perfect consumer who never blinks, never questions, never closes the app. But the algorithm has one fatal flaw. It cannot shrink what it cannot measure. It cannot track the moment you decide to leave the phone in the other room. It cannot monetize the second you choose silence over the next hit. That second is outside the loop. That second is where the rebellion begins.
The samurai feared change. Toyota caged it. Algorithms weaponized it. You were never meant to find the cord. But it has always been there, coiled inside the habit you swore was unbreakable. 3 moves. No speech. No ceremony. 1. Audit the cue at 3 a.m. When the house is silent and the lie is weakest, write the trigger in your own blood if you have to. Empty inbox right pointing arrow refresh. Argument right pointing arrow drink. The page is the first link you snap. 2. Subtract 1% before breakfast. 1 less second on the screen. 1 less swallow of poison. Do it while the loop is still asleep. It will wake up missing nothing. 3. Share the micro victory with one witness. A text, a whisper, a stranger in the comments. Accountability is the dopamine the algorithm cannot tax. Do this for 31 days and the habit will not notice it is dying. Do this for 90 days and you will not recognize the person who used to obey it. The empire falls the same way it rose, 1 grain of sand at a time. Until the throne is dust and the mirror shows a face that finally answers when you call its name. The cord is in your hand. Pull. The screen fades to black. Only your reflection remains, fractured in a mirror that is already beginning to heal. Each hairline crack closes by 1% with every subtraction you refuse to postpone. Comment your 1% change below. Not for likes, not for applause, for the witness. We will track the rebellion together, 1 invisible cut at a time. The bell you hear is not a notification. It is the factory cord, ringing from inside your chest. Subscribe if you are ready to pull it. 1 final beat of silence. Fun fact, the word Kaizen was erased from Toyota's internal HR manuals in 1991. No explanation was ever given. Ask yourself why.